There you go. Greetings, peoples. How are we doing? We have apocalypse to talk about. That's the main thing, right? That's the main rage. That's why I prepared and actually slept for this one. I need power. I need passion. I think YouTube has taken a step too far. And as passionate users of this website, I think we should band together and we should start not only bitching about this, but spreading the message, because either YouTube dies to its own idiocy or it dies because it's no longer a friendly place to be in. So glasses off, let's just get straight into this.
I would like to take the opportunity to introduce a very special guest. They recognize him from season 2 of the Anime Law. So, there he is.
Well, hello there.
It is Trillion's brother, aka the underwear guy, aka the fork in the hair guy. The legend himself.
I had to learn that. I actually didn't know. I actually did not know that thing existed. Like, I've lived at that point for 22 years and I haven't seen that device.
You called it a device. I remember that.
You
triggered hundreds of people that day.
I don't know what happened though. I'm trying to be progressive and everything, but I just can't.
No, it's fine. Progressivism is overrated. In fact, that might be the thesis of the whole Vox apocalypse situation.
Yeah. So go with the introduction, sir.
Just as a point of reference, you've been requested more times than we can count.
I haven't been notified.
Oh yeah, I've tried to get you in, but I didn't want to put that on you. Oh, everybody's wanting you to come in for the anime.
Just be honest. You wanted it to be organic, like the last time. You wanted him to just barge in and tell you to shut up before actually.
No, we live far now. There are too much space between us now. He cannot wake me up, and everything like before. I would come enraged because you guys disturb my sleep. Like every week, I have to listen to these two gentlemen talk about God knows what, and I should wake up at 6 a.m. Like, it's a weekend. I do wake up 6 a.m. usually, but it's like the day where I would sleep more, and you interrupt that, and you expect me to be nice after that. Like, come on, you're asking too much. You're asking too much out of me. I wouldn't give you that.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wish I could say the same, but
well,
I don't know how to feel about that.
Louis, tell us about the apocalypse. I've looked it up, but I assume you did more research than I did.
I've been watching a lot of Tim Pool videos, which for those who are not aware, Tim Pool is, in my opinion, the best independent journalist on YouTube, functioning on YouTube at the moment. And he has been tracking the Vox apocalypse, which is not Vox's first time. So Vox basically had a scuffle between one of their biggest writers. His name is Carlos Maza, and he and Steven Crowder, which is one of the biggest conservative channels, American conservative channels on YouTube, they've been going back and forth. And over time, Carlos decided that it got too personal to the point where he went to YouTube to complain about Crowder being able to make money off of criticizing him and others. And long story short, YouTube ruled originally that Crowder was in the right, that even if you're a conservative voice, you should have freedom of speech on YouTube, and you should be allowed to criticize whoever you want. But Vox wasn't letting up, and so Carlos Maza went back and got all of Vox and his cronies to continue writing to YouTube and pressuring them and their advertisers that they should take off certain content creators simply for what they say. And Then a couple days passed, and the turnover returned that YouTube was going to demonetize a bunch of YouTubers, including Steven Crowder. And now it's a matter of where is YouTube and where is online independence going from here? Is the entertainment industry going to be flustered by the social justice progressives who clearly don't like someone for what they say or what they critique of them? And it started a whole snowball effect, because the same thing that happened a couple years ago with the original YouTube adpocalypse is now happening again, but this time because of Vox. So it's called the Vox adpocalypse. It's all Vox's fault, and everybody hates them now, but they're kind of salivating and embracing the hate to the fullest extent.
Well, since YouTube is gonna be operating over ad revenue, they're in a very tough spot. Like, I wouldn't want to be one of these CEOs right now, because whatever stakeholders, whatever you want to call them, because at the end of the day, I have to be a crowd pleaser, and still I have to confine myself to some sort of a structure. But again, they're acting like a court, basically. They're now actually becoming a court, and I'm sorry, but imagine like somebody who's like maybe Vice or Vox or whatever, or whoever, like whatever, like one of these big channels, and you would have to adhere to these weird rules and weird, I mean, like, because at the end of the day, it's an open system. So you could watch or not watch, but for me, not to be able to be running ads because I have offended you is such an absurd idea. I don't understand why people would think such a thing. Just don't watch. Don't tune into it, or not tune in, I guess, watch it. Because at the end of the day, if you want to actually limit the content, it would lose. Like, that's the beauty of it. Like, anything could be posted. I'm not saying like post stuff like, for example, beheadings and stuff that like ISIS does or whatever. Yeah, there should be a filter for that. But like, it's like softcore stuff like me starting to swear, or maybe call that thing a device, and people would actually want to take me down. And that's just, I mean, it's a very difficult topic, because YouTube at the end of the day is in a very tough spot. Like, they're acting like a judiciary, and they're not qualified for that, I think. So you guys tell me about what you think about that.
Well, the way it goes is, you're not wrong. Last time I checked, Alphabet, which is the parent company for Google and YouTube, they lost about $60 billion in revenue, and they're blaming YouTube.
I've heard of that. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And the reason is because of all this ad nonsense. Because the idea is a lot of companies pulled out, telling that we don't want our ads on offensive videos. And offensive videos can be anything from people talking about controversial topics. So let's say people who are playing World War II games. And so the name Adolf Hitler is all around, and Germany and Soviet Russia. You can't make money off these anymore. Videos covering topics from the Great War and the World War II, both are just, people refuse to get ads on them. And YouTube's response to that is just hit everybody, not just like those channels, because they don't know what to do. And another thing is, ever since the bigger YouTube gets, the more it's the target of everybody. TV hates YouTube. Subscriptions hate YouTube. Now ads people hate YouTube. Their own YouTubers hate YouTube, right? And it is a tough spot for YouTube, which is why I think, like, I did give it like an analysis in my head, and maybe YouTube should start like thinking of a union of sorts, like passing the judgment to a union of YouTubers who know what they're doing, know what's best for the website, have open dialogue, have open criticism, and anything, ad strikes and all that stuff, gets processed through something that's fair and out of their hands. And that way they can say, whoop, See, we didn't do anything.
Well, since you're proposing a bureaucracy, then a kind of a YouTube bureaucracy where I have to operate this bureaucracy whenever something comes up. Is that what you mean, basically?
Basically, a people's who's there. You can think of it as a committee, but the committee is made up of individuals who are knowledgeable in the subject, which is the point you mentioned, right? YouTube is not qualified to judge its own users. In the
Let's say
end, they're-
lawyers.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Idea
is YouTube? I mean, is YouTube going to be operating in the same like US type of law then, free speech and everything and whatever? Do you think the US? I don't know what the law says about this in the US, but are we going to say it's going to be a copy of basically US visual law, whatever you want to call it?
Well, YouTube has
Visual
struggled
property.
with that because they have attempted to implement what would be considered as US law into YouTube's practices overseas. And there's a big reason why YouTube is blocked in countries like China, because aside from them not wanting to commit to the American way of doing things, they also just don't like what YouTube stands for. So that's a double-edged sword against them. But what Trillion mentioned is very interesting because the concept of a union speaks to a very big elephant in the room, at least when it comes to Vox. It remains to be seen how corporate media is going to develop in the coming years, because I personally believe that corporate media is on the decline, and platforms like YouTube and all social media really are growing into independent outlets for independent creators to become their own voices of reason. And this in and of itself is a double-edged sword. And the union that decides what's good there is usually the court of public opinion, as indicated by Twitter and how horrendously that turns out every single time. Part of what I liked about YouTube is that they were more reluctant to commit to certain decisions compared to Twitter. But then when it comes to Vox, they have the opposite problem. Because they are very reactive in everything they do, they have a union that decides most of what happens with their content, yet they also have a union to defend their workers' rights. And their workers' rights aren't being very treated by Vox, and YouTube and Vox are currently having this squabble about, well, how do you treat your creators versus our creators, and why do you get to dictate our rules if you're not even taking care of your people? And so it's the two companies pointing fingers, which is just as childish in a way as it is beneficial, because I think it's getting both companies to look in the mirror and to have their creators look in the mirror and consider if they truly want to stay on one of these platforms.
Then what's the alternative? Something like Netflix?
Netflix has an interesting relationship with YouTube, because a lot of YouTubers, once they get quote unquote too big for YouTube, begin to try to become more mainstream, and Netflix is the perfect outlet for that. It's not like anyone on YouTube is talented enough to go star in a movie or even star in a class acting TV show, but they can start their own YouTube original series, or they can start their own Netflix series. We've seen that with a few creators. So possibly,
Mostly comedy.
Yes, it's possible, but not for the average YouTuber. The average YouTuber, the smaller YouTuber, still needs to stay on the platform, and they want to stay on the platform. It's just a matter of, how does the smaller YouTuber get big? Well, sometimes it's with controversial content, if that's what their channel is based on, and where do you draw the line?
Yeah, you have to provoke people to get responses at the end of the day, and it's a science at that point. So they should do something about that.
I want to mention something, which is what made me go to the union point, which is a lot of times, and Louis is a victim of this as well as anybody. An algorithm change happens, and then
you guys could be victims.
We are.
You get hit with a copyright strike, right? And then you need to legally challenge it. There's a problem, though. Louis is, at that point, was a high school student, right now unemployed. We don't have proper legal teams who know the nooks and crooks of YouTube that can protect us. Not only that, a lot of channels that are protected by a legal team get a false attack, a legal attack on them by a company, for example, because you're stealing the revenue. For example, you're using fair use to review their content negatively, analyzing why it's bad, so they hit you because you're using like 5 seconds of footage or music or whatever, and then you challenge that claim with your legal team and you win the dispute. Nothing happens. Video comes back. Guess what? One day later, you get hit with the same attack, same topic, same everything. And eventually what YouTube does is all the ad revenue that you would get from that video gets taken out and given to the original creator, even though it's your own original content that you've made, spent hours on. Yet this other company gets to
Very
get all the money.
discouraging.
Exactly.
So it's a very subtle and indirect method for companies to bully through YouTube. And part of what creators have been asking for is for YouTube to monitor this with much more than just algorithms or bots. Because they started with bots, then they moved to an algorithm, and there's not much of a difference. It's if you get a strike from Disney, for example, you have to be pretty confident in not only waiting 30 days, but assuming that because you're not going to take legal action, you're just a normal YouTuber, hoping that Disney themselves doesn't decide to take you, a random YouTuber, to court for using a Mickey Mouse clip or something. And so they try to bully you because at the end of the day, they probably won't waste your time or their time trying to take legal action against your video, which like 79 views or something. But there have been content creators that have become big enough to where companies are beginning to cross this line and beginning to take legal action. And now it is forcing YouTube to officially implement a rule that is going to apply to all creators. So very new water for everybody here.
No, but again, shouldn't I be like flattered if I was Disney that my content is being talked about? Like, that's exposure. Like, actually, you should pay me that I'm talking about your stuff. At the end of the day, Google owns many people's eyeballs. Like, seriously, how much do you watch YouTube? Every time I'm eating a meal, I watch YouTube, and I watch random shit, and that's fine. I mean, I watch everything at the end of the day, and they should be happy that somebody like, for example, Louis, for example, talking about, I don't know, you used to critique anime or whatever. Shouldn't these companies be happy that it's okay, it's fine. That's what you're known for, though. Come on. Anyways, give us a break. Like, that's your break, basically. That was like, this show started from that point. Anyways, so shouldn't I be happy? Come on, the guy is depressed. Oh, Jesus. I take it back.
That's my legacy on this website. We haven't gotten big enough yet, Trillian.
We'll get to it. Oh, look at him.
No, I'm pretty primitive. I'm primitive with these things. So I only watch like things from TED Talk and these. Are we allowed to talk about companies and something? Well, they will take you down or something.
Oh, go ahead. We are not even monetized. It does
As
not
if
matter.
we care, but no one knows. No one knows these days what you are or aren't allowed to do.
Yeah, there should be like clear written rules and should be simple. Nothing more than 12 terms of conditions lines, to be honest.
And the funny part, for the VOD apocalypse, like, you say there should be rules. Well, what's his name? Crowder?
Steven Crowder.
Yeah,
Steven Crowder. I looked up his video. According to him, he's like,
change my mind guy.
Me and my legal team, according to him, went to YouTube's headquarters and made sure that everything they do is by the book and within YouTube's own circle.
It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter because if people are going to throw a fit, it is basically an ad company at the end of the day. That's their business model. And if people are going to complain a lot, they'll change the terms of conditions. I don't care. Why should they?
And it doesn't stop there either, because you want to talk about really complaining. the editor-in-chief of Vox, this just happened today, by the way, decided to double down, and the editor-in-chief wrote specifically to Susan Wojcicki, whatever the CEO of YouTube's name is. She wrote an open letter to her declaring that YouTube needs to make changes. So not only are they doubling down, they are now being the front runners to actively push YouTube and pressure them into implementing the change that no one even knows what it's going to be.
Sorry.
I want to mention this. YouTube, like I've watched this a video, like the proof is overwhelming, right? Statistically, YouTube has been rigging the recommended section to display classical media. So the Jimmy Kimmel Show, the Jimmy Fallon, all those stupid names, late night shows, BBC, CNN, all of these guys are being artificially placed on YouTube, on people's recommended. And you, like somebody like me, or like anybody who wants to make it on YouTube, their hopes is to be featured in the recommended and for people to click on their video and then them making money off it. But every path for the regular Joe Schmo who wants to make a name for himself on this platform is being taken away from them slowly. And now Vox, what they're trying to do is to silence an entire section of the crowd. You know, they don't want the right to have any say in anything. So what they do is, okay, anybody who is against our opinions, we're gonna label as bad, and we're gonna force their own platforms to change by constantly harassing the top dog. And the top dog would think, as a business mind, to be like, oh, how to avert this? Oh, okay, just concede, because apparently that works. No, it doesn't, but they do it anyway because there's too much at stake. And who suffers? The people who are just sitting there.
Well, Vox is especially vile with their methods because they have been leading this fray for a while. Vox, I am convinced, hates YouTube. They hate it more than any other. The New York Times despises YouTube. All these like digital news sites and even the CNNs and the Fox Newses of the world, they all despise YouTube because it's grown bigger than them. But Vox holds on to it like a grudge because, like I said, this is not their first time that they've challenged YouTube, but this is the first time that they've broken through and become successful, and they're not letting up now because you give someone an inch and they're going to keep asking, right?
Yep.
And Vox is like that. Vox to me is like that annoying kid that just keeps asking for stuff and wears you down through annoyance. You know, you're at the store and he wants candy. You keep saying no, but he keeps asking you, and he's getting on your nerves, and there's other people staring, and it creates a public perception that now YouTube is in the public light even more than they have been. Because it's like you said, YouTube is an advertising company at the end of the day. That's really their gig. Google in and of themselves as well. And so as soon as they have to be put in the limelight and actually have to create content themselves in the form of defending themselves, they are faced, they crack under pressure. And Vox has realized this. And my fear is that if creators and the community doesn't stand up to Vox at this point, that other companies like Vox are going to have the same vile intentions and are going to keep pushing YouTube until it's not really a platform for free speech anymore.
Very big problem, that the whole thing, because at the end of the day, you brought the point that small YouTubers, I think small YouTubers should have like the word of mouth of friends of friends sharing the, your channel as a small YouTuber. You grow from there. Like this
sub
show,
for sub,
example,
man, bring it back.
Yeah, that was a good movement. But again, for the big companies, they could go to, they could actually create their own YouTube at that point and have these short clips and these small interviews broken down, and you break them down by topic. Like for example, Fox News would put videos of Trump talking, or maybe these conservative people talking, and people will click and watch, and it's short, it's 15 minutes, and it's the same segment of TV, maybe, I don't know, but still, people would actually watch it if you put it on on a website, or maybe another platform, something like a subscription, something like, I don't know, depends. Or maybe you want to run ads yourself there if you're a big company. Leave YouTube for what YouTube is. If you're a big company, go create your own thing. At the end of the day, you can. It's not like you lack resources, and just don't put rules that are going to be bent so far backwards that people are not going to be able to operate. Like, why should I be canceled at that point if I say something controversial? Because when Vox said something controversial, it got canceled. You'll have to adhere to the same rules at the end of the day.
Well, that's the funny part, right? They tried. Like, all of these big companies with all their millions, they've tried to like start their own stuff. People are not interested. Vox tried too. And what happens is they realized this is YouTube is too big of a phenomenon for them. And it's like trying to remove Twitter. It's the same thing. So so what happens is okay, we just need to take over, which they are trying to, but people are not standing idle, which is I'm pleased by. With the Vox apocalypse and the demonetization of Crowder's channel, people immediately started canceling their YouTube Premium membership. And what Premium is you remove the ads, you have access to YouTube Red and all that stuff. And what they did is they took the same money from the subscription and subscribed to Crowder's exclusive channel website thing, the Mug Club or whatever, which he makes money off of. Like, if you subscribe $99 a year or whatever, you have access to videos that are too edgy for YouTube, according to him, or that's at least how I understood it. And people just canceled and went right there, and they're like, take our money because we don't want you to fall because of YouTube's crap. But what that eventually means is that everybody will start leaving YouTube, going to, I don't know, Twitch and regular podcasting, and I don't know, eventually, like, if they're desperate enough, Dailymotion. and
people are even
Vimeo.
on Pornhub these days. What are you talking about? People are actually posting non-sexual content on Pornhub. Like, seriously,
that is true.
That's a thing.
That is
Yeah.
true. The amount of I saw a Lego stop motion video the other day on Pornhub. It's just unrelated. You can find it too. It's very easy. If you look up something that completely unrelated to porn, you will get it. It was supposed to be a meme, I think, but people are taking it serious now.
No, because people actually got sick of the Twitch way of not showing some, body parts, or maybe I don't know what the exact rules of Twitch is, but I don't know. I think you cannot show a bare breast or something. So even if it's a joke, right? Or you cannot moon somebody.
There are a lot of rules that Twitch has that are, I assume, fail safes. So
see, that's where you're wrong. Actually, I don't think Twitch themselves know what their rules are.
Fair enough.
They don't. Whenever they ban someone, they can never tell you why. Have you seen one of the emails when somebody gets suspended? It's just
mumbo jumbo. Yeah,
it's just the typical. It's like the YouTube community guidelines, but at least with YouTube, they have the strikes, so they can at least put what you did in a category. Twitch is just like, somebody complained. That's about it.
Yeah, funny enough, they leave the bare-breasted Twitch streamers because they make them a lot of money, right? They leave them and they don't say shit until she makes a mistake.
Somebody complains.
Yeah, she makes a mistake, and then suddenly you have violated 17 things. Where did these come from?
Well, we've been keeping track. We were just waiting for you to slip.
Yep, it's ridiculous.
But about what you were saying,
the future is Pornhub.
There we go. Does Pornhub have a premium? Time to take your dollar there, right?
Oh, funny enough, the past is Pornhub too, since the internet was basically spearheaded by pornography, and that's how it grew popular. That's the dark past of the internet that nobody talks about, right?
I mean, we're good. We're good. I think there's enough porn content for the next generation or two. Actually, they still make them as well. This is a phenomenon. Like seriously, people actually watch everything on there, and everything has views. And well, I'm not admitting that I go on there, but still, like people do watch there, and it is a big platform. And
Don't worry, it doesn't sound
maybe
so
that's the
pathetic
future.
when you realize that there are people that pay for porn still.
Yeah, that's the weird part, isn't it?
Like you have all this, you have a literal website dedicated to free porn. Somehow they got away with keeping that up
And
after all those
do they run
lawsuits.
ads though? I have lost
do.
track of that.
I
They
have
do run
seen-
ads, huh?
They run a horrendous amount of ads, not on the video, because apparently if you watch a porn video and you click play, you don't want to see an ad like in YouTube. But if you look at the page, there are 17,000 apps near it, or sorry, not apps, ads near it.
And not even the latest version of ad block can save you. Believe me, I
Yeah.
tried.
Nothing. They have to. It's tremendous amount of money that you can make because people will show. They have a need for that shit.
Now, most of it's granted, there's a sexy 7 or 19-year-old waiting, or 17-year-old. Pornhub doesn't fucking care, right? It's like there's a sexy,
No rules.
yeah, there's a sexy 20-year-old in your area. Click here to meet with her. There are people still dumb enough to click on
yeah.
that.
A huge dude. Imagine, for example, a 40-year-old, never knew what the internet is, and then looks, opens Pornhub for the first time, and then he sees those ads. He doesn't know. He's like,
it's
oh,
just-
okay, yeah.
It's just
Well, of
Virus
course,
Central, man.
That's true.
Well, I want to ask this question, which relates to this whole Vox apocalypse, which is a lot of these things happen because there's a huge silent majority out there that refuses to act upon anything when it happens. They'd rather just accept it as if idleness is the proper way. Like if you ignore the wave, it'll go away. It's like ignore the bully.
Yeah, but people are busy. That's the problem. You cannot keep track. People are busy. That's the problem. Maybe I was talking to you today about that on the way home.
Yep.
We had a long ride and we were talking about that. Like, what could the average Joe do at this point? Because this is too much for one brain. And you could say like we could be groups and divide by interest, and just people do not want to be out there. Like for example, me, I don't have all my arguments articulated enough so I could go talk about each topic and talk about every outrage that happens and everything that is wrong. And maybe I'm talking out, shitting from my mouth at that point. But still, people should organize some movements, and especially the young ones, because the young ones have more time usually, and they're actually doing so. That's the problem, because the young ones usually are progressive and everything, and most of them are into that. They're not basically conservatives or anything like that, but too liberal, if you want to say, like too modern liberal type of outrage. The people who do not have that type of outrage are silent, and the things just go on. The decisions that happen are affecting you at the end of the day. So people are in the dilemma here. They do not know what to do. They do not have the time, and if you choose to enact, it's a very negative thing, because you're gonna be suffering from the decisions that's gonna happen dictated by people who are actually willing to put in the time. So, well, tell me, Mister, what do you think? What should happen at that point?
Well, before I answer that question, I'd like to also point in that in regards to the companies should just create their own platforms, and they're actively failing, and that's why they just get mad at YouTube, because YouTube seems to be the only one succeeding, which is not true. We've had Twitch, we've had other social media platforms obviously rise.
No, come on, but they own your eyeballs. They do own your eyeballs.
But as far as how companies are seen, if they can compete against YouTube, people forget that there is a squabble that's going on that's actually formidable. It's not Vox versus YouTube. It's Disney versus Netflix. If you remember, Netflix had a lot of Disney's content on it, And then Disney decided we're going to make our own streaming service. And Netflix laid an egg. They didn't know what to do now. Do we pump out more original content? Do we just keep green lighting everything? We already green light everything. We're Netflix. What do we do to compete with Disney? Why? Because we're not going to have Endgame now, or we're not going to have it for as long as we should. Or if we do have it, we're going to have to pay insurmountable amounts of money. It's going to be insane. And so Disney actually has a good case to compete with Netflix just for that reason, basically because they have the Marvel movies. And what I think is that there's a lot of companies that are trying to see that dilemma go down and are trying to engage against YouTube that way with their own platforms. The problem is it never works, and so that they have to go the Vox route.
I mean, if you're non-professional, you're not gonna adhere to. You still have to be on YouTube or something like YouTube at the end of the day. Like Disney is Disney at the end of the day. Like they own all the children's eyeballs at that point, and even YouTube as well. Like YouTube has been dominating even the young kids these days. Like,
Well,
2-year-olds can 2-year-olds go without Baby Shark for 1 week? Come on.
well, here's
I
the
have a
thing.
question for the
Actually-
philosophers.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be a question, and history is gonna judge us on how we actually take this topic on of YouTube and all of that. It will judge us severely as well, because we're laying the blueprint now of how things would go in the future regarding intellectual property, if you'd say, or maybe content property. I don't know what's the category here, and
Well-
people will actually judge us at some point.
Well, here's the thing. That's what I want history to know us by eventually, which is,
Or judge our absence as well. That's why.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? As far as I'm concerned, you can be a passive observer. I like not participating in stuff. I like observing what's happening and then maybe relaying it or reporting it somehow. That's how I like to
Specialism.
perceive. Yeah, just how to perceive world events. But at a certain point, when I am concerned, one, I need to be aware of what's happening, and I need to act upon it if the need arises. Because if you take these two out, you're basically going in for the ride. You're not even steering at that point. And there's a problem if you don't steer. You have to, as in, like, how do I express this properly? You can't escape suffering. And when your own sense of self is being taken away, just people are ripping it out of you. You have to fight back. You have to fight for what's yours. It has always been like this, one way or another. Somebody looks at what you have, they like it, they want it from you. Well, you need to protect yourself. Otherwise, like, nobody will protect you. You need to do that yourself. If somebody jumps into your house, you'll punch them in the face or call somebody who can. And how is this any different?
It is not, like I said, like if people do not actually do something about this, the majority that is silent. I told you, history will judge your absence. They will actually say you had the means, you had the incentive. Why didn't you act on this? And my answer is not clear, because like every social gathering or every movement, there are going to be the bad people and the good people, and you're gonna have all this shamble unfold, and you wouldn't want to be like a part of a community where, and by the way, yeah, community, that people hate this word, but yeah, again, you have to commune of some sort as well, because again, if you're one person, you're not gonna do an avalanche unless you're somebody like Gandhi at that point. But and the days
Funny
of Gandhi
thing
are
about
gone.
Gandhi now.
Oh yeah, we did the entire Gandhi segment, but that's besides the point. Keep going.
Yeah, well, I lost my train of thought when I was rudely interrupted by somebody.
Hey, it was the
But
perfect
again, yeah.
time to bring it up.
Well, you took the mic. Then go ahead, finish my thought.
I kind of lost where you were going to.
Well,
he
again,
promised.
responsibility. People need to take responsibility of their lives. At which point do you stop being a victim, for example, of gun shootings, and start shooting yourself? I'm a big advocate of arming yourself.
Well, that's good. Like arm yourself with arguments, of course, not guns. And
Anything. Be strong. Be a beast. You know, be powerful. I hate weakness. Don't be weak.
again, with 24 hours a day, when you cut your sleeping hours, which is like 4 or 6 to 6. Well, some people go to 12, but still, like, what can you do against every outrage there is? Too much. What, people are questioning everything right now. Like, I have to like rebuild the whole system from scratch at this point, because the old way is not happening. You mentioned YouTube and news and everything. These things, even YouTube will get like it is actually getting a little bit old, and people are actually finding out that the same with regular TV. Like, this thing is not as formidable as we thought. This thing is not safe anymore. Like TV, basically, they're giving us fake news and fake media and whatever. And YouTube could be the same. And the average YouTuber here is the one who's gonna take every let's say bad thing that is gonna happen. It is always about the small YouTuber. The big companies, I told you, like, they're gonna go the Disney route at some point. And it's gonna be a subscription, and you're gonna pay 100 subscriptions, and that's not good enough as well. Like a closed system like Netflix, okay, cool, but people want the free shit on YouTube. It's so nice that I could just, not pay for anything and watch everything at the same time. So they should just basically try to actually be fair and not give in to outrage, because the outrage will die down and people are not moving away from YouTube. They should understand that. That's, in my opinion, of course, that people are not gonna leave YouTube because YouTube is not banning a video about Steven Crowd. They're gonna watch, because their content is being put as well.
And that's my solution every time, is wait a week, don't say anything, just let it pass by, because eventually people will forget. Why? Because there's a new outrage every single day on social media,
exactly,
on YouTube.
Exactly.
Let people forget.
I've looked this up, which is why people are just like on Twitter, just waiting to be mad, right? And the way it goes is, at least according to the video I watched, back in the day, people would read something in the newspaper and then they would go to protest, right? And there would always be that thing that, like, there's always a group of angry peasants somewhere being angry at something back in the day. But these days, this is no longer the case. Nobody's going out anymore. So what happens is they look for a way to express their outrage elsewhere. And what Twitter is basically a platform for you to be angry at something. So
the whole format is for outrage.
Right? So it goes like, I'm bored. And then this person said this thing about gay people. Oh, let's hit them, people. Right? And, once it happens, that was fun. They don't say that, but that's what happens. I mean,
well, if it's not fun, they're not going to do it.
No, but victimhood is the best one. It's one thing to go after someone for what they said or what they believe, but the ones where people put themselves in positions so that they can be the victims, I think, is where people really, really have fun.
Oh yeah, I'm so, like, we are so oppressed.
Yeah, the people that they're like, right, they're just they're walking mistakes. Like, they're like, everything's wrong with me because everything's wrong with society, because they don't like me for whatever reason.
That was the excuse behind the Vox apocalypse, right? YouTube is not doing enough to support their SJW creators. And
no, it's LGBTQ, right? Because it's Pride Month. And I'm not sure if that's internationally. It's Pride Month here. I just
It is.
learned
I
that.
think
It
I
is.
think it's international. I think I don't know.
Yeah,
though.
people bitched about it here too, so it has to be international.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
try
all over
that. Yeah,
Reddit, it's all
try
over
asking Saudi
everywhere.
Arabia. What do they think?
Oh,
Actually,
depends
you'll
on who
be
you ask. Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, it depends on who you
Actually,
ask.
you'll be surprised. Actually, because
Really?
if you go on social media these days, you don't speak the language, obviously, but if you go on social media, you'll see these like fake accounts. It's not like fake accounts. It's just like they create accounts and not put their picture or anything, and they will talk about all sorts of topics. And people, there are many progressive people. Like I think being progressive is a trait. It's not something like specific to a country, and people are actually speaking like they're not holding a rally anytime soon, but they will choose this opportunity to do what the people did in the 80s in the US concerning Pride, and maybe that's the healthy period of Pride. Maybe I think that's people were standing up for rights. Actually, now you have a problem in the US. You actually got the rights. Are you going to shut up now? Or what's
I
going to happen?
wish.
It's going to be the red. Is it going to be the Red Square, parade now every time? At that point, like we're going to go celebrate what happened and ask for more. Well, Red Parade didn't ask for more, but what I mean, like, well, maybe that's the progressive way of doing it. Just ask for more, like more inclusivity, more fairness, more. I'm okay with fairness, but more fairness in their definition, which is give us everything, give us more seats, more stuff, more positions, more even not merit based sometimes, and the only winner here are the corporations. Like I think even gay people right now are actually pissed about how the corporations are dealing with this. Like now the Starbucks cup is gonna be rainbow, and um, every ad in the world I've been seeing online these days is all rainbows and stuff. I'm okay with that, no problem. But I think the ads are taking it a bit too far, because even the gay people have conservatives, and they just do not want that. Again, I just think being conservative is a trait independent of what, or maybe sexuality or even gender and these things. And the corporations are milking this for all it's worth, and it's backfiring a little bit. And that's good. It means there are reasonable people in the LGBT community as well. So that's
I spoke to a black friend of mine, and I'm a big believer that if you continue to put your own victimhood on display, or at least what may be interpreted as your own victimhood, it's going to keep getting talked about and keep getting abused. And what my friend, who happens to be black, right? Don't you love it when people say that, right? Like my friend happens to be like, it's a fucking accident. Anyway, uh, he he was telling me how because February here is Black History Month, and we don't really need that here. Uh, it's outdated, not from the perspective that what happened during the 1800s should be forgotten, at least here in the States, but it's outdated in the sense that if you want everybody to have this color, first of all, people don't know what they want. There are people that claim they want the colorblind approach, they don't see color, but then in the same breath, they'll say that they want you to celebrate their color and their culture. Pick a side. Most people can't pick a side, and thus they can't even get started on this conversation. That said, what my friend was telling me was he despises Black History Month because it brings attention to the fact that blacks are being pandered to. Like they can't achieve anything on their own, so they need their own month. They need pity.
yeah.
They
Let me
need
take
to
care of you, my little child. Yeah. Well, that's just not good. Like, yeah, let me give you more university seats. Let me give you more rights. I mean, more rights than the norm, and 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 less punishments as well. Like, if you do something bad, like if you're white, you're fucked at that point in the US. If you do some, if you have a Freudian slip on an interview, you're paying for it, and that's bad. I mean, like, has any good came out of it? Like the Black History Month or whatever.
like
What do you think?
like the news puts out a like an interesting story about this person that you never knew about before that happened to be black that did something
Can't be
remarkable.
independent of that month. That's the thing. Why should they call it like specific to this month? Like, shouldn't
that's
it
the
be a
thing.
YouTube channel, for example?
Oh, there's YouTube channels. There, YouTube will celebrate all their Black creators, and like the talk shows will have all of these people that it's like, here's this Black creator of something that you didn't know about. Here's what he did in his life, and they just it helps you become aware. But the point is, the people that care are going to be the ones that seek that information out on their own volition. They won't need the View or the Talk or all of these talk shows or Jimmy Fallon to tell them that, if people care, they'll go looking for that. But my concern is that I tend to translate what my friend told me to how gay people might be thinking. Like, this is just being used as an advertising ploy. And we have our own month, but people are just abusing it either to make more fun of us, feel sorry for us, or make money off of us. And
Why are
none
they
of
gonna
it
sell more
is
cups?
ideal.
They're gonna sell more cups if they put the rainbow now, because all the progressive are going to buy, including the gay people as well, just for the picture. By the way, Starbucks is like smart with this shit. Like, make the cup so attractive looking, like everybody's getting it, and everybody's taking a picture of it. Like the cup is their own advertising. It's a very smart idea, and they would take a union over a noble cause. Well, it is a noble cause, anything that is giving people equal stance with the world, and that's a noble cause. But it was a noble cause that achieved its goal. The movement achieved its goal. Then what are we doing here now? We're gonna just celebrate wearing absurd clothing and walk around the streets, and that's what it turned out to, from a rally that was actually noble. Now it's became more like a fashion show where more skin is being shown than the norm, and that's and at the same in the parallel image we have the companies. We're gonna take it to another level now. Every year they're taking it to a new. It's either a video. After the video, they make a commercial. They're making products. Then they're making T-shirts, and and people buy it. If it's not paying back, I'm sure they will not do it. But it is paying back, and the gay people who are reasonable are saying, maybe not so much. Like, this is too much attention at this point. Too much. Like, now people are going to actually identify me by that identity, and I think people do not want to be identified by this identity, and they would just be normal people. Regardless of their looks, maybe they're more feminine or maybe more masculine than the norm, and they don't want to be defined by that category. Like, I am a competent guy, why should I be catered for at the end of the day? That's gonna hinder me. If you're gonna carry me like a sweet little child and breastfeed me every time I feel bad, and that's not going to happen. It's actually absurd what the companies are doing right now. And there is an outrage from the LGBTQ community, actually, if you want to call them a community, which I think they're not a community at all.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that it would. People just want to live and let live, right? And it's if you're bringing too much attention to them, then it makes them feel different, and then it's the opposite effect, or rather, it's the same effect, but with the opposite intention.
Even the psychopaths that are actually the ones that they were afraid of are going to see, you're going to remind them to actually renew the hate contract. They're actually renewing the hate contract at that point. Just let them let the decisions that happened with gay marriage and gay rights or whatever dilute into society and become part of the norm by themselves. At the end of the day, by inertia, it's going to be like that at the end of the day.
Well, what happens, the reason all of this is happening in this particular way, and you're right, because every time I see a gay person on TV that's not indoctrinated, clearly he just happens to be gay, as Louis said, happens to be something, you see them with shame, oh yeah, we have those LGBT guys, can you disregard them when it comes to me and all that. They always have that mentality to them, especially the transgenders. I've found the transgenders just want to be left the fuck alone, and the LGBT just added them in. They're like, can you not? But in any case, what it comes out of is a mentality of being in a state of constant revolution. And as long as you're a minority, you need to keep fighting. And if you become a majority, then you need to join the new minority team. And keep repeating the cycle. And the idea is always be like, it's the Maoist stupidity, right? Always be revolting against the system. Even if the goals are achieved, the society needs to keep revolting, or otherwise, nothing will be achieved, or things will, stability is bad. We need to always keep attacking. Otherwise, we will be attacked.
I'm okay with protection. Yeah, I'm okay with, like, because with protection, what I mean is basically protection, by the law, basically. Like, if somebody actually assaults somebody, they should be punished for it. And that's fine. That's like, just treat them like normal people at this point. Do not include race and maybe sexuality in this, because it has no place at the end of the day. Like, if somebody committed a crime, they should be punished for that crime. They shouldn't be, shouldn't be more severe because it was a kind of crime against a minority or something like that. And that's not nice, actually, because at the end of the day, if they're achieving protection, they got their rights. They could have, marriage, whatever, social union, or whatever they are. They actually specifically call it marriage, right? I think it's the same contract they would sign.
Yeah, it's
instruct us, Louis.
It is.
It is. Then that's fine. We're done here. Why should we still, like, what else is left? What do these people want at the end of the day? It's either, like you said, it's just the need to just, revolt against everything there is, any social structure you want to actually deconstruct and build, then rebel against the same system we actually built. And it's a dangerous loop. Nothing will get done at this point. Nothing will get done.
As far as I know, this will keep happening as long as a company like YouTube or people in general cater towards it. Because I found, if you look at them like, really? Go away. The way the British do? They're like, my feelings. And they're like, yeah, take your feelings there, please. I'm having tea and, fish and chips. Yeah, just, they can't do anything anymore. They're like, they're not hearing? How? But then you go to the US, fucking fluffy US, or Canada, God forbid. And what happens is, like, the second it's like, I'm angry, our priority in this universe is to comfort you right now. Of course, it's like a child, when the baby cries for his mother's attention, sometimes it's not because the baby needs anything except that attention, and that's what's happening. We're dealing with a bunch of man-children.
And that's what white guilt is, right? You mentioned once you become a majority, you are inclined to help the minority. That's all the progressive, quirky little white guys over here who claim that they have to be the white knights for everyone. Like, we are there for you. We're gonna help you. We're gonna help, and it just adds to that. You really think it was a black person that came up with Black History Month, or a gay person that came up with the LGBTQ Pride Month? No, it was people that thought they needed it because they're weak and soft.
It was a noble movement. It was a noble movement, yeah. And I think the movement, maybe, I don't know if they had a manifesto of some sort at some point, but I think they wanted equality, and they got that. They wanted marriage of some sort and social bond, and they got that with the whole the guy who died in the hospital and could not attend to his boyfriend. He didn't see his boyfriend the last time, and that people screamed outrage, like, how could they, because he's not family, he's not allowed to the operation rooms, and he's not up, he cannot actually sign the consent letter for an operation and all of that. And that was a need, because not many people are close to their families, and maybe you would want somebody to actually be for you in the time of need. And most families will actually shun their children and all of that. Maybe that's outdated, but still, like, at the time, and it achieved its goal. what are we doing here now? Actually trying to cater for each and single little need that they actually want. And like people were demanding more university seats. I never understood that. Being myself like educated in a university, I know that if you actually do not put me in a place where I belong, according to my IQ level and according to my basically abilities, you're doing me a great disservice. I'll be a miserable worker somewhere, not even understanding what's happening and being a burden. And that should end. The US should end that. Even Berkeley of all places, have fallen into this. Like, I don't know which universities are actually still like, on the reasonable side, but Harvard and Yale and even Berkeley these days, I've seen. This is a certain amount of black people should enter, certain amount of. Why should we break them down into percentages? Isn't SATs enough at that point? Like, isn't SATs is what matters? Aptitude tests and SATs and all of that.
Well, it should be what matters, but what happened was there was people took what legislators here, they saw what Apple did that one year where they started putting out diversity reports, and they decided to turn that into a law. And they turned it into something called affirmative action here, where you have to get a certain amount of black, whites, yellows, browns, purples, green, whatever, into these universities for it to be fairly judged and for it to be a fair chance for everybody. And that was never what those universities were about previously. But because Apple did it, they started this trend of, hey, look, we're going to publicly report how many people of this delineation we have versus this delineation. And they've been doing it ever since. And a lot of other companies have picked up on it. And that's why at the end of each year, you hear about these companies doing these diversity reports, because Apple started it. And then it somehow became a law here. And all the schools felt the need to adopt it. Or rather, were told they need to adopt it. And some schools choose the need to embrace it more than others, because a lot of schools really want to be like those pamphlets that they hand out. Look at how diverse we are. Look, there's a black woman on the cover. And if you turn the page, there's an Asian man talking to a white man. And, it's like they have to like walk you through it because they assume you're the child. They assume you're the person that's crying for the sake of attention. And that you're coming to them for that reason.
I don't think people want that. Like, seriously, I don't think like most people want that. Like,
oh, most people don't care.
These things are irrelevant. Like these things are irrelevant. Like, I am sitting at, for example, anywhere in the world where I traveled, I'm sitting with everybody, and that's just fine. I never cared. I don't treat myself. Yeah, I would be respectful to people in the premise of social courtesy. Yeah, but it stops there. Like, I'm not going to like a well-educated person. I'm not claiming to be, who actually knows about ABCDs and in life would understand. There's limits you do not cross. You're not gonna swear at somebody. You're not gonna especially in this day and age. Like, I think I don't want to call it propaganda or anything, because I still have yet to see the benefit of the poster where everybody's talking to everybody and how everybody in the picture is different. Like they would that's what they're advocating. Like, yeah, this person is different from that person, and that's different from that person in terms of culture, in terms of color, in terms of everything. And they even mix up the categories. They would put a woman with a hijab with somebody who's black, and they would claim that's the same, like they would claim that this is a difference. It is not at the end of the day. I don't see it as a difference. Fashion never have been something. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, can I ask, because there have been a couple of these stories that have come out, but specifically there was one where there was, I believe it was a woman was attacked on a train by a crazy person, and I believe this was in the UK, and there were two men near her, and they refused to help. And when asked why they didn't help, it was because there was fear that they were going to be accused of some sort of sexual harassment. Now, I don't want to turn this into a Me Too situation, but do you think that this has even translated to just how mere genders communicate with each other? All of these movements have slowly transitioned into how genders are interacting with themselves.
No,
Yeah, of course. Like I'd be scared.
Yeah, it's
I'd
trauma.
actually be scared. I'd actually be scared to do something.
It's one of these things where you freeze, and I'm like, if I move, am I gonna get arrested? I want to protect this
Yeah,
lady, but maybe by protecting this lady, somehow I've offended somebody because women can't protect themselves now, you know. And I'm now the topic of everybody's focus. Of course, I'm not gonna move. I wouldn't move in their shoes.
And I wouldn't either. And you want to know the biggest irony of this story? The woman who was attacked was a feminist champion. Like she was a feminist icon, right? Like she wasn't attacked for that reason because of her views or anything. The guy was just crazy. But she believed in feminism. She reverberated a lot of the feminist doctrine and everything. And then she was attacked, and immediately she was calling for the defense of men, and nobody helped her. And she compared it to she complained about it. And a lot of the internet that took this story and ran with it compared it to the notion of, if you're a man and you see a lost child, you want to help the child, but you're afraid that if you do, you're going to be mistaken for being a kidnapper.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one, because that's a situation you're faced with every time you're in a park or anything, and you see some kid crying and lost his parents or anything. You I do not know what to do here. Like, I actually do not know. You want to take him by the hand and bring him to authority, but that trip from the place where he's lost to the people will actually just imagine, like, somebody who wouldn't be my child, like, impossible, like a black kid, for example. Of course, I couldn't produce a black kid normal conditions. So if they see that scene and I'm dragging him by the hand, and of course he's a child, he's going to resist me because I want to help him. What do I have to do? Call the police right now? I don't. Maybe calling the police would be a good solution, but would you actually bring the police into this now, or I could actually just bring him to a meeting point where actually people would go look for him? And that's scary because you would actually choose to enact in these and be a negative observer at this point and not do anything about this, and that's not good. As the child could be legitimately lost, and actually maybe a pedophile actually would take advantage. But how do we make the difference?
It's a rude awakening for a lot of people that aren't aware of it, because we're thinking about it and we've thought about these situations, but there are a lot of people that in the act, they don't. And it's becoming more and more apparent. And, like workplaces are becoming segregated, and, it's almost gotten to the point where you must ask, are we going to start drinking from separate water fountains again? Not race wise, but gender wise. It's almost like we took 2 steps forward, but then 3 steps back.
And let me explain this further. Like, let's say you find a lost kid, like at a mall, right? And the kid is barely keeping the tears, and it's clear like he's lost. His parent is around here somewhere, but the kid is all alone here. Now, you're not an authority figure, you're not security, you're not a cop, but you saw the kid. Nobody else did. You don't see security around. So maybe what you do is like, hey, kid, are you lost? Okay, how about, you see him being scared of you. So okay, there's a McDonald's there. Let me buy you a sandwich. And that will be our silent communication. The way you give a pet or a stray cat some food, and it'll know that you're friendly. And then it'd be like, okay, now that you know I'm friendly, we can talk. Where's your mom? Blah blah.
Again, there is this period where you're going to take him that's a problem. That's the trip.
If you buy him the sandwich, you give it to him. Now the kid is calm. You want to tell him to either like, where's your mom? Maybe I can find her and resolve this without security. But if not, I'm gonna take you to security. Let's say the mom finds you then.
No, but
Yeah.
he's talking about the trip. Like, how
That's the
far
problem.
is that McDonald's?
Yeah, if the mom finds you then, just buying her kid a sandwich to comfort him. You're
Yeah, that's a pedophile move right there. Yeah, that's a pedophile move though, because you're actually that's exactly how they would do it. They would actually give you the false sense of security, and the next thing you're in the backseat of a car that you're with somebody you don't know. And again, maybe the best action is to actually call the cops or something like that at that point, because what could you do? But again, if it is a desperate situation, for example, like he said, like she's being attacked. Yeah, it's a dangerous situation now. There's danger involved. Then what should I do? Like, and how far would you go in protecting that person as well is something. The lines here are very vague. Like, I'm a strong guy. I could actually hit somebody and hurt them bad, and that's how bad should I hurt somebody? That's the problem as well. Like, that's a scary thought. Like, yeah, how hard could I hit somebody? How hard is a punch? A punch could kill a person, by the way. And
okay, here's another thing. The guy who hit the woman was crazy, right? That's a mental
Yes.
disability type of crazy. So let's say he's hurting the woman, and your impulse was to hit him back and knock him out or something, right?
yeah,
You protected the lady. Well, guess who's coming after you? The crazy people supporters. He was crazy, yet you hit him. How dare you? You don't protect the lady, you lose. You protect the lady, you lose. What do you do in this circumstance?
You
You
stay
said-
off Twitter. That's step one.
Yeah, you hide.
no, you just freeze because these people will find where you live. Are you serious?
Dude, they'll come to you with like their pitchforks, and if at a different time, they would burn you at the stake, you know?
Dude, you want to know the best one? The absolute, which is actually the scariest one. There are men that are scared of becoming lifeguards now. Can you take a wild guess why? Because if a
Not
girl
really,
starts
I mean.
drowning, you're gonna have to ask someone to go pull her out. If you're a man and you go after, guys are fine, right? But if you go and you have to give a woman CPR, it's over. You better get some contract signed. You better get like 3 people recording it to make sure
Thank
that
Hollywood. Thank Hollywood for that.
yes.
They
And-
they actually did, like, it became a very, sexualized thing, the CPR and the knight with shining armor, came to save you just to nail you at night. I mean, it's a
It's not even
problem.
that. It's not even that. Like it's more primitive. So the lifeguard saved you, gave you CPR. Now you can accuse him of sexual harassment. That's what Lou is referring to.
Exactly. That's what the only reason I brought that up is because it's happened. A
Really?
man saved a woman's life, and in the process of doing so, he like broke her lung by accident, even though it was believed that she broke it and whatever. The point is that she accused him of that and of sexual harassment. Because where do you have to put your hands when you're conducting CPR? On a chest. What's in the way of a woman's chest? I wonder what, like, it was bound to be, it was a disaster. It, like, the second I saw the headline, I was able to reverse engineer it to the start of the story and then visualize it to the end. And it was exactly how I and everyone else thought it out to be.
Funny
And
part.
it's a norm now. That's becoming the norm.
Dude, people are asking for video consent before having sex these days.
Yes.
I can't think of something that's more of a turnoff than somebody in the middle of the heat be like, can you record consent? Because people got sued. I remember that there was a law case, like somebody got accused of rape, and they found video footage, luckily for the guy, of the girl coming up to his apartment in the act. They're both drunk, they're both having fun, and then they went up to his apartment, and he used that
That's
as
not
proof.
even saving him. That's not even saving him. I came to watch Netflix, but not chill. That's what's gonna be. You know, that's what it's gonna be like. Yeah, but you know, with these things, just you make sure that you do not have drunken sex at that point. That's the where everything like people would regret their decisions after the fact when they're drunk and everything, and they would maybe call that. I've seen a guy who actually pressed charges on that as well. A guy actually pressed charges on a girl because she actually while he was maybe excessively drunk. I don't know, should be like a very good looking guy if he's, excessively drunk and still desirable. Yeah, and actually won the lawsuit. That was now what are you going to do now? We're just going to every, like the court would be crowded at that point. Like, poor judges. Like, just imagine if you're actually judging a case like that. It's gonna be very depressing. Like,
Well, hold on.
really?
Was that the guy, the same guy who I believe he was a university student?
Yeah,
Who had
he is a university student.
he had drunk sex with the girl, and then he believed that the girl was gonna accuse him of sexual harassment, and so he decided to accuse her of sexual
he went
harassment
up to her.
first.
Oh
He
yeah.
beat her to it, even
Oh,
That's
though
the
okay.
problem.
right now you're thinking right.
He is smart, but still the whole thing is absurd. Like, what now? I have to put video everywhere, like even in the bathroom now we're gonna have video now, just to be sure, that nothing happens.
I
In the shower,
remember.
that's undesirable.
No, I remember watching a video of a person. He's like, I met like a girl who I was with in high school and was intimate with, and she was suffering from drug addiction. Now, me being familiar with the girl, I decided to help her, right? And I did. But what she was trying to do is squeeze money out of me to get more drugs. So he was like, "No, I'm not going to help you do that. I'm not going to help you ruin your life further. I'm sorry. You're my friend. I want you to be better." And so she told him, "If you don't, I'm going to go to the cops and claim that you were trying to rape me. If you don't pay up now, I'm gonna." Yeah. And like, as a guy right
Save the
now,
text,
like,
screen capture.
right? And it was like she covered her tracks. It's like if she's done this before, she did it in his place. Now she's gonna leave. She's gonna make a fuss, and after that, she's gonna go to the cops if she so desires. Right? You're done at that circumstance. But luckily, that guy, what he did instead, he called the cops immediately, and he was like, "There is a girl in my place. She was a friend. She told me if I don't give her drug money, she's gonna accuse me of rape. Please come." And she just booked it. Right? She just ran. And when the cops came, they're like, "Don't worry, we got you." Right? And then he had to he had to cover his tracks, make a YouTube video. I have a voice. Let's talk about this. And said it quickly. Guys, that's what you do. If somebody does this, don't fall for it. Call the cops immediately and hope for the best, because that's the only way out. Even if you pay her, that's the only way out. And without moral guilt, And the fact that people need to bring this shit up, and like, this is what it will eventually turn out to be, like an entire society frozen by not knowing what to do anymore.
I mean, the law system is very old and ancient, and I don't think it covers all these cases. And we're gonna, and the judges are like, every time there's something like that, I'm sure that a judge would see this case and want to throw himself outside of the window at this point. Like, what to do? What investigation? Witnesses and everything. It should be a real court case where what happened is, something like a drug problem or something like an alcohol problem. Like, at this point, if you're, I'm not saying go, don't be drunk and wasted, but make sure you do it with trusted people. There is a rule with everybody who drinks that I know and stuff, is like, somebody should not be drunk at that night. I know it sucks, and nobody wants to do it. Yeah, to taking care of drunken people at night. And I've done it, I've volunteered for that like many times, and it's not fun, I'm telling you. But the life choices I saved these people from, makes it worth it a little bit, because if somebody slept with that girl in particular, that is in my head, and I haven't saved him for that, he would judge himself immensely. I actually, if it happened, I would actually take a picture of that girl as well and show it to him, because she was clearly, like much older. Like this is a problem at that point. And because he was drunk, after the eighth drink, you're not, there is no difference between, looks, and you with disco lights and shit, it would not be. It's always, it always would make somebody look, younger, fresher and everything. And
Oh yeah, strobe lights lie, as the saying goes.
yeah, yeah, and that's a problem. What to do? Somebody has to volunteer and save you from these life choices. Either one girl if it's a group of girls, and one guy if it's a group of guys, and that's a problem. And
Well,
nobody wants to be around drunk people. He's not drunk. That's a fact.
well, here is the problem, though, and I think that's like what this society produced because of its poor decisions. If you have trusted company, you're a very lucky person, because
Yeah, I mean,
nine
the whole model of society is not catering for
yeah,
that.
it does not promote trust anymore. Like how many cases of stolen iPhone chargers do we need to know? Do we need to hear about? Like, don't bring your friends into your apartment and have a plug out in the open, because that plug will disappear, and you don't know who took it. Like, trust is a very valuable resource these days. Finding somebody, one person who you can trust, especially from the opposite sex, mind you, is tremendously difficult this day and age, especially for people of the US and people of Western culture, because of all of the things that the person can do. One fight, and the woman wants to get back at you. She goes to the police station. You're done, because you called her a skank one day because she cheated on you, for example, and she felt horrible, and you're the source of the horribleness. So, I'm gonna get back at you, and so you can't trust people anymore. What is that
I mean,
Kuwaiti
still,
case?
it's still even. What Kuwaiti case?
The Kuwaiti case where one of the wives filed for divorce, and she wanted to, basically to break the man, as women need to do whenever a divorce happens. And what she did, she claimed that he never spent on her, which is bad in Kuwait, and the court really punishes you for that. But what the guy did is he brought a box and he opened it, and there is every bill he ever spent on her in existence.
Smart guy.
And
Yeah,
and it's like, I prepared, bitch. You were never trusted.
No, at this point, at this point, he actually maybe foresaw this, in her behavior. Maybe she threatened it a couple of times, and and he prepared himself. That guy, yeah. With these things, like the law should always, be neutral to these things. Like, I'm sure it is, and still, if you're surviving the court by law, you're not surviving the court of public opinion. That's the problem here. That's the main issue of this stream. I think it's just the court of public opinion. It's the cancel culture. For example, that as well. Like we said, like somebody who gets accused of something. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's the most absurd thing you could come up with. Where there's smoke, there's fire. What if the smoke is made up? Then what happens? The guy gets canceled for nothing. And what's with cancel culture, by the way? Since you're a U.S. citizen, last time I checked.
Oh, it's a big deal here currently. Cancel culture, from what I understand, started from the need to flush out and purge all of the old bigots, mainly in the entertainment industry, but it's expanded to anything that's old, outdated, bigoted, homophobic, even slightly racist or sexist, that people tend to take issue with, and it can be started by anyone because pretty sure it was a movement that was started on Twitter, and now it basically lives there. You know, somebody does something, and all it takes is
like
one person.
like what happened like two months, maybe 1 month ago. There was this case that it got over social media like that. It picked up the case of I think James Charles, the makeup guy.
Babushka, where are you?
They just mentioned in the comments.
Yeah. That was a really all right.
Yeah.
That was something to see, because this was the LGBTQ community actually fighting among themselves now. It was a friendly fire from all sorts at that point. It's such a confusing topic, and I still don't understand. Like, okay, this guy wanted some straight guys to sleep with him or whatever, and why should we care again? Did he force anybody? Why should he be canceled and not get deals anymore and not get? I think for a 17-year-old, I was a knucklehead when I was a 17-year-old. Like I remember the days like very clearly. I was a knucklehead. I would make all sorts of mistakes, and aren't people allowed to make mistakes anymore? Like, this guy is a young guy. Like, people shit on Justin Bieber for crashing cars and shit. Like, do you know what being rich is? Like, that rich is like, and not being able to basically go out and do stuff. And it is a very difficult topic, and I think and people are judging them like they would judge anybody else, and people will claim, yeah, but that's the price you have to pay. That's not helping anybody to say that. That's the price they would have to pay. So I would like to hear your opinions of this, dear gentlemen.
Well, as far as the James Charles incident is concerned, the LGBT, the way I believe the LGBTQ community interpreted it was, oh no, we're already demonized. Now we have a person who is trying to force himself onto straight people, which is what we don't need, right? Like they're convinced that they already get enough bad press. They don't need one of their icons adding to this problem. So it's kind of like when straight guys say things like or make like rapey remarks about lesbians, and then lesbians take it the wrong way. And so it's like, the way I interpreted it was, I believe the same way that the LGBTQ interpreted it was, gay people thinking that James Charles, who is one of their champions, is now trying to force himself onto straight people, and the shoe's on the other foot. But that's nice that like we don't want to know how that feels. And so it came back to bite them, and that's why there was the turmoil within that community.
Well, I mean, the guy is sure talented.
He makes makeup tutorials. He's not that good.
I mean, like, I don't know how to do that. I don't think I could learn even. So whenever something is, outside of my sphere of, understanding, I would consider, I mean, he has millions of followers for a reason, and people learn from him, they say. So why don't you just, take his products and whatever he's offering and just not deal with all, like Justin Bieber. You actually listen to the Sorry song, which I hate, by the way. So I don't think it's a song. It should be, a song, but people like it and people listen to it. And why should it come with, all whatever he's done, which didn't happen? But how come it came to James Charles, though? That's something. How come cancel culture never hit Bieber, for example? Well, for crashing cars and breaking speed limits and breaking the law.
I actually have an answer for this. It's because the main progenitors of cancel culture are prepubescent to young adult girls, and they are the biggest fans of Justin Bieber. So no one ever tried to start cancel culture against Justin Bieber, but against, for example, Woody Allen. Oh yeah, they, it's a bunch of girls on social media who typically start these fads. And
teenage girls do watch James Charles. I think that's his audience. Teenage girls do watch him to learn maybe makeup or whatever and stuff. So that's why that distinction never made sense to me. I thought about what you're saying, but that's why it didn't make sense to me.
Oh, but
Why
they went
him?
after him. They went after him because while they are fans of James Charles, he's still nowhere near as big as Justin Bieber. And Justin Bieber was literally like the 13-year-old sex icon, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
like James Charles is gay, so he's technically not even interested in them. He's interested in what their parents' credit cards, but it's like that they helped move the cancel culture. It wasn't primarily them, but there were a lot of people that no doubt were involved with that.
Is it benefiting or de-benefiting the case at this point?
Well, it goes like this. As far
Is
as
he
I'm concerned,
benefiting it?
Or
right?
not benefiting?
The way it goes, the reason why everybody fought everybody in the James Charles case or the James Charles case is something I've noticed in whenever somebody's making like any sort of creative product, a book, a game, a TV show, whatever, is that if you go to please one certain audience, like there will always be a group that will be disappointed, angry, and would attack. So you can't please everybody, and you try to find a way to like balance your like people's perception. And what happened was when James Charles did that, a lot of people who were silent before, tolerant of James Charles, started speaking up, and they outweighed the people who were in support of James Charles. And had it been like the opposite case, somebody tries to force themselves on James Charles, or James Charles just said like something, let's say morally ambiguous or whatever, just something stupid, this audience would still attack, but not with the same fervor, because there's always like the fear of a straight man being flirted with by a gay man. There's always that fear. There's oh shit, I'm being flirted with, fuck. And that like cooked them up to attack. And then anybody who could respond is suddenly now in the wrong, and they can't say anything. And they have to like join in the wave or suffer the same backlash. And just like the community collapsed on itself in that case. And I think personally, it shouldn't have been so. I think, as you said, like now you can no longer make a mistake and not suffer immensely for it. You can't even admit that you did something wrong and that you're going to be better without people taking it as a statement that they now have power over you. Like,
oh, you slipped?
Yep.
Pay for it.
It's like, oh, maybe. Okay, I made a homophobic joke. Maybe I went too far. The second you say that, you're done. So you can't even say it. Like you're a comedian or something, and you said it, and you felt guilt. You didn't even react to them. You just realized the joke was horrible, right? It crossed the line in your head, and you're like, okay, I'm sorry for it. And then boom, bada boom, everybody attacks you. And you're like,
hence why I do not support apologizing. It's the similar situation to the YouTube one. Don't apologize. Let the heat pass by. There will be, no doubt, in 2019 another controversy for everybody to jump on the bandwagon of. You don't need to be the one to take the hit. Just don't apologize. You'll take heat for like a week or so, maybe a month, but as soon as those words come out of your mouth, you are accepting guilt, or you are admitting it rather. And in the court of public opinion, that's all that's needed, right? It's not like you're saying sorry so that you can engage in a dialogue, so that you can open that route, because nobody on Twitter wants to have that with you. And let's be honest, that's who people are apologizing to. The amount of celebrities that have come out and apologize on Twitter or on YouTube or on Instagram, that's how they have to do it now. And it's always so empty, but only because they were caught doing it. And so it's like, like if you feel bad about doing it, then do better on your own volition. You don't need to announce it to the world, though, unless it was something tremendously heinous. But at that point, you'll know. But if it's, I don't know, you made a bad joke or you said something in poor taste, we all have our slip ups. And are you going to apologize for your tongue slipping at that point, it's not worth it. It's just to
You're
put your
17 at that
entire
point.
livelihood on the line like that. I don't believe in apologizing for stuff like that.
Dude, you gotta pity the generation that wants to stream at a young age these days. You know, the squeakers. At 12, they have the YouTube channels, and at some point, you know, they may have a career change and they want to be president now, or they want to be a CEO of some company, and then some guy with too much time looks him up, finds the videos in an archive somewhere hidden because all of the videos are deleted at that point. But one guy had like found it in a cringe compilation or something, and it's the jam. Your career is over. If you want to be president now, you have to start at 10. You know.
Bro,
Yeah, speaking of presidents.
Mm.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Introduce your next topic.
Well, hold on.
Oh,
Before I get to that, I want to reference Ben Shapiro because what he made a comment. He made a comment
Poor Ben
back when
Shapiro.
there was a time when people, you know, the left was very antsy about, you know, who can beat Trump, and now, you know, the Democrats have like 30 options because there's like 30 or 50 people running for president on that side. But at a certain point, they were considering who they should run in 2020 and who would have the best chance to beat Trump. And one of the front runners at the moment was Oprah Winfrey. And Ben Shapiro makes the very, in my opinion, eloquent accusation or observation of saying, Oprah cannot run for president. I'm helping her here. She is too clean. There is no way. She's done a good job covering her tracks. But as soon as she announces that she's going to go up against Trump, someone is going to find everything wrong with her and bring it to the forefront.
Yeah,
the difference with Trump is that he is a walking trash bag. Everything that's bad about him, he wears it like armor. And it just doesn't work when you use it to attack him. A sweetheart angel like Oprah, though? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, you know there's something there.
We'll find
Someone's going to find it. It's going to be the
we'll
end
find
of
the
it.
emails. We'll find the emails.
Yeah. So that's what got me thinking. Like, if, you know, that's why you don't apologize. That's why you know, at the very most, you say something like, you know, I was like James Gunn. I actually thought James Gunn had a good response. You know, the Guardians of the Galaxy guy. He didn't firmly apologize, at least not at first. What he did, though, was he said, you know, that was 10 years ago. I'm a different person now. That's fine. That's fine. Just say you're a different person now. Why? Because nobody can argue that. You have grown. You have evolved.
That guy played 5D chess and won both DC and Marvel. But that's a topic for another time. Let's get to the president.
Okay.
Well, he is the president. That's a shock. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
there's
still.
An element, yeah. There's an element of unpredictability with that guy that people would actually want the interview because of exactly that. He's very unpredictable, and people actually like you know, spontaneous people. You know, the guy is sure smart and very quick on his feet. Like, you know, the nicknames. I mean, that's something. I mean, that is something very, very admirable, at least, you know, if there is something to admire about Trump. Well, I admire the fact that he actually could squeeze out billions of dollars or whatever he says out of other countries. But apart from these two things, what have you done, people? You unleashed the beast, and I don't see him losing now. People just like it too much. Somebody who's actually gonna wear his, you know, his problems, as you just said, as armor. Somebody with such a thick skin that he would actually fire back in a back and forth with you. The mayor of London last time made comments about him, and you know, the mayor of London is nowhere near Trump in terms of status, and the guy actually takes the time of day to actually reply to him. He doesn't care. He would actually, you know, answer to anything. Like somebody from the street is actually swearing at him. the guy would answer back. The guy defends himself from anything, and viciously. And you were not winning a nickname calling, trash talk contest with this dude. It's just too much. And your regular politicians, the career politicians that grow up from their 20s, like eloquent and weighing every single word. This guy has none of that, and people love the randomness. People like it. At least 50% of the population, or 49 point something. So, how are you guys dealing with this back home?
Well, as you can expect, it's divided.
Of course.
The mainstream approach is that the news hates him, yet loves him at the same time. They have a very passive aggressive relationship with him. They love him because they give him he gives them ratings, but they hate him because they have to hate him. Right? Everything he says is a talking point. Every tweet, every mannerism, every time he decided to go to a church where we just had a shooting at, and he changed his hairstyle. Look this up. It's one of the funniest things you will see all month. He combs his hair all the way back and like gels it back, almost looking like a mullet. It's hilarious. And the news had a field day with this. They could have talked about policy. They could. You think CNN had better things to do? No, they were talking about how much gel. I kid you not. One of the analysts was discussing the type of gel that he used. Was it sweat? Was it was it just Vaseline? Was it water? Some people, they can just use water and get their hair upright. People, they love Trump more than they love to give credit for. And
he's a phenomenon.
It is a phenomenon. And from the beginning, I was a big believer that whether he wins or not, this is exactly what the country needed, because it's a wake-up call.
Exactly. Yeah, in that sense, yeah.
This country needs to understand that it is not, and has rarely ever been, as noble as it thinks it is. And I'm one of the few Americans that can admit that, because I'm not on the team of Trump that dick rides everything he does, or I'm not on the side that hates Trump and despises every time he breathes. But no, I said from the beginning, if Trump wins, this is exactly what the country needs. It's a slap in the face, and it's a blessing in disguise at the very same time. You will show this is what America is, and we need this as growing pains.
Does he win?
What are your polls saying?
We'll have to see.
The polls? You don't want to trust the polls. We know how that turned out last time. The polls have him losing, naturally, by a lot. Naturally. Sounds familiar? Naturally. I think that I had him winning by a long shot until Joe Biden decided to enter the race. Joe Biden is the ex-vice president for Barack Obama. He has one of the highest approval ratings of any candidate ever. And Trump has one of the lowest, naturally, but Trump is an anomaly, so he can get by there. And Joe Biden seems to be one of the only people that on occasion can go down to Trump's level. And he's the same guy, for reference sake, that at a rally, I think before Trump got elected, claimed that he wanted to beat up Trump. And if they were back in high school, Trump was the type of person that he would have taken out back and beaten up. And a lot of people cheered for that. And I saw a lot of the similar energy that Trump gets at his rallies directed towards Joe Biden. Now, I still think he has a long way to go to be able to compete with Trump on that level, if that's his intention. But I'm not so sure now, because Joe Biden is very, very loved among the American people. So we'll see where this goes. It's I don't like giving definitive answers for stuff like this.
Because the world is scared. This is the USA president here, and like every movement Trump would make in any country offshore. Yeah, it is. Offshore to you. Everybody tenses up. Actually, like everyone, like you would actually see more headlines of Trump than any president, like not Putin, not the Chinese guy. I forgot even his name, the prime minister of, I don't know what they
Xi
operate there.
Jinping or something.
It is him. It is
Who
him
cares?
that actually makes the news. Who cares? You should care. That's a
No,
big power. I
not that. The Chinese guy.
Yeah.
That's something,
I
some
mean,
name, right?
yeah. I mean, it's a party at the end of the day, and actually, it is the party, not like, the face of the party at this point that rules. And everybody tenses up, and the problem with, the problem with Iran and everything, actually people here were scared. Actually, if you would have dropped the T-bomb on them, that there would be a strike, you'd see people, if he actually said that in a tweet, yeah, which is
Yep.
144 characters, you'll see people piling up in the shopping centers buying, like a scare, basically. Like, people go buy everything and stuff, and it happens everywhere. And
Canned
people
food.
actually do that because, canned food, and it is a scary scene because people think he's unpredictable and he would actually push the button of war on any country. And it is quite scary. Like maybe, with all the thing with Hillary and everything and the problems and the emails and everything, like you would actually say that Hillary is was the politician type of person, like not clean but predictable, kind of. With Trump, you don't know. That's the problem. You don't actually know. That's a weird bathroom break.
He
Anyways.
takes them whenever he sees fit.
Well, that's an exclusive information to your audience then, since I'm here. He has a problem with, he has a small bladder, basically, so he goes to the bathroom more than the norm. That's actually a birth defect. So yeah, he's not perfect after all, people. See, he has this problem.
Fun facts about Trillion.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the papers indicating that, but I've been told by my parents, because he usually would take these, like he is the only kid in the family where you actually have to take him to the bathroom before every car trip because of that, because he would, it would be a scene.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of joke material here.
Yeah.
I have to work
since
with some of
he's
it.
gone, yeah, maybe.
I mean,
call him the weak bladder people. I don't know. Find the name for him.
I'll think of something.
Make Trump give him a nickname of that, I guess.
There's an idea, yeah. But in regards to how the world sees Trump, I am fully aware that all eyes are on him. I think he's aware of that, except he embraces it, right? It doesn't matter what he does. He relishes in it.
He feeds off of that. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what I want to say about his future.
He's treating presidency like it's a TV show. It's another thing in my resume. He's actually like, that's an accomplishment he would add to, whatever accomplishments he actually won. Like he loves to win, obviously, yeah. Like the businessman mentality, you're fired type of, Vince McMahon, type of dude. And it did work. Like, he's just a regular guy. That's the thing, he's just, people would relate, if you get what I mean. It's like, the fat heavyweight champion who won the last boxing event, winning over this chiseled abs, and people loved that. The Mexican guy who won.
Ruiz Jr.
Yeah,
when
Ruiz,
he knocked down Joshua. Yeah, people actually like love these things, like beer belly and all that, and he won, and that was that's why they would want somebody like Trump, like somebody who's funny, did TV shows, not the regular president material win. And people actually maybe voted for that, and maybe some people voted out of just spite at that point. You just don't want Hillary at that point. And that's not how you actually, I'm losing faith in like representative democracy. And still, even the UK Brexit, which was a referendum, even that is not even a solution. So what do we do here? Like,
should educated people have more votes at that point? Like more weight? It's still, not fair. So because they tend to be rich and people don't want rich people to, hold all the cards. So what do we do here? Like, the regular democracy is failing in the UK. You could see that, like with the Brexit thing and everything, yeah. And you could see it failing in the US with Trump. Like, what's the alternative here? There should be an alternative. This is an outdated idea now.
Well, I don't know how to answer that question, but I will say this.
The party politics.
One thing that I've noticed is that one of the biggest hypocrisies people have amongst themselves is they claim they don't want change or that they don't like it, but in truth they do. And a lot of them like chaotic change. A lot of them like chaos mixed with theatrics. And I believe that's what Trump is the equivalent of. I believe that a lot of people voted for Trump because they genuinely thought he was the answer. Some thought he was the Messiah. Others thought that he was just funny, that he was a living, walking meme. And hey, wouldn't it be hilarious if we had Donald Trump as president? And then it happened, and some people felt mixed ways about it. And I think that there are quite a few people that, those type of, some people want to see the world burn type of people, the Joker types. And they saw Trump as the answer in that regard. And so I think that there are quite a bit of people that are enjoying what Trump represents for a country that has been so up its own ass about justice for the longest time. And I'm not saying that the U.S. defies everything that it ever stood for, but you make a good point that if Hillary would have gotten elected, she would have been the better look for the country by leaps and bounds. But Trump maybe is a more realistic representation of what people actually are thinking. And
people don't
I think
want
that's
professionals.
the silver. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. They just don't want the speech and the monotone. They just don't want that. Again, about Trump, where does this guy draw his energy? The guy has more energy than me, that's for sure. Like, and I work very hard. And this guy is just on another level. Like, what do you feed them? Like, what's in the standard American diet that you feed them that is actually that
the
energetic? And
you want to know the best part about Trump? He eats very unhealthily. He eats a bunch of fatty foods. He loves McDonald's. He loves KFC. He eats fast food. Like that's his go-to. Basically,
that's like 20% off of my next meal, I guess, my cheap meal.
Dude, there are so many pictures of him on the plane, on his private jet. And the most famous one is he's holding a KFC bucket and he has a knife and a fork, and he looks like a child. He's so happy just at the camera like this, just getting ready to dig
Americans
into his
like
chicken.
happy. They just love food. Like, like I've been to Boston on one trip, and I was so happy with the food. Like, seriously, so happy. Like, you guys know how to eat. The proportion, the portions, and they had a coffee, a coffee like, maybe you cannot see like this sort of perspective. It was the size of maybe a large soda, like the regular. I don't know. That's a medium maybe in the US because they have this like swimming pool ones. It was just perfect. I love that size. They should bring it. Like, I got it from, I guess, Dunkin' Donuts because it's all over Boston. Like, you have Dunkin' Donuts in your apartment at that point if you're in Boston, and it's that size. Is just like the American people know how to eat. That's it. Yeah, I nothing to be said more. Like the pizza and leave the pasta alone. Like, pasta is like a universal food, and the burgers. Like, the sizes are like man sizes, yeah, feast sizes. At that point, you have to cut it in half. It's not gonna fit your mouth unless you're him, and that's just lovely. So we're gonna export some Cheesecake Factory and all that. We're gonna export. We're gonna have them here.
Oh, we already have them, don't we? Like,
yeah, but
if we adopted anything from American culture, it's the food.
Yeah, we got to get
smart
something
choice.
right.
Yeah, smart choice.
Uh,
Like people are so big in delivery here. You actually, a delivery company would be a good investment in Kuwait. If you're People just love to eat. They would order from 3 different restaurants, yeah, for one place of where they gather these people. When they gather in our house, I can see the cars like just park and people just eat different things. And then they would actually have dessert as well. So you're gonna have you know, a full course meal you'd order. They would order dessert from another restaurant, then claim they're broke. So yeah, American culture helps us very well. Yeah, we loved the food, that's for sure.
I
Funny
want
enough,
to I want to move the
Like
topic.
bacon with burgers, genius.
oh, you're making me hungry.
Now,
Yeah,
now,
I am
And I
actually.
just ate.
okay, I want to move to another topic, which is competition and how it's
Yeah.
being degraded right now in society. We touched upon this last stream a little bit, but the standard for what is good and what is proper and what is great has dwindled over the ages to the point where we don't want professionals anymore at anything. And it's reached the level of presidency now, I realize. So the question that comes here is, what's up? Why are people not valuing friendly competition anymore? Not valuing good work being put, and anybody who does good work does not get popular, but the guy who does the same work but in a much more like down to earth way, suddenly they have all the exposure. What's up with that?
Well, you cannot touch competition because if you've seen The Simpsons, because I do watch The Simpsons sometimes, and it's a nice show. I like it. Uh, the episode where Bart Simpson has a day where in school where everybody gets a trophy. Yeah, like a participation trophy, and yeah, like what's the incentive at that? What's the incentive at that point? Yeah, if everybody's gonna get their picture hung on the fridge every time they draw it, like why should I draw a better picture? Why should I, And people would argue, it's more inclusive, maybe to let everybody share in the the praise and gratitude, and they should and you cannot do that in the STEM fields, that's for sure. But maybe in literature and books and all of that, people actually with literature became very apparent that people would do that. In the STEM fields, the building just collapses. You cannot just you do not choose to do that. It's not for your best interest. But in literature, it's actually predominant. Like you would see these books in Kuwait, like not even worth the ink that is being printed on, like a poetry book, for example. And maybe I think there was a stream where you actually read some phrases from some book,
Oh yes,
violating somebody's violating somebody's intellectual property. You should be taken out for that. But I think that's the most exposure this book has ever gotten, so you should be happy. I had a couple of books like that, like where I bought them to just just test the waters. Maybe I should write something in the country, and I got so depressed I never wrote a single paper after that.
Here,
It
here.
is sad.
Here.
It is so. See, this guy is celebrated, and because of the lack of competition, and people just don't want to compete. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy your book, and you're gonna buy sub for sub type of behavior, basically. Yeah, and it's defeating the purpose. Like, if I am bad, tell me. I should move on, do something else. Like, don't give me this false, information that I could be good. And the book had spelling mistakes. Like, it was terrible. This was not normal, and people don't seem to take this seriously. Like, they don't want to compete. Competition is stressful. Yeah, it is very stressful, and it's bare humanity clashing with each other. And I competed in several things in my whole life, and I've done quite okay. And if you would take that away from me, the sense of achievement, I wouldn't do it, to be honest. If my opponent is going to be praised as well, and I will not get recognition, I would not. I mean, if it meant nothing, I wouldn't do it. Again, it defeats the purpose. Like things should have meaning for you to do them. So, what do you think, Louis? Since you've been silent, maybe the vodka kicked in or something.
It's getting there. But what were we talking about? No, I'm joking.
Have you been competing, and what do you think about competition?
I'm thankful that I was raised in a household where competition was. I'm an only child, so my dad always kind of served as my older brother, as well as my father, and so he was able to give me that sense of competitive edge or the need for it, and I appreciate that because even like the way I was raised was you want to show that you're the best at whatever you do, and I received the humble spiel about it, do it with humility and uh, do it responsibly and what have you. But whatever you do, make sure to give the full effort. And then over time, the way my personality developed was I was looking around me and I noticed I was just more aware of things than other people. And I use that to my advantage. And I use that for several benefits from financial to social. And competition doesn't just have to be in the arts. And I think or in sports. And I think that's where people lose their edge is they want to be good at something, but really they don't. They just want to be told that they're good at something. They don't actually want to work for that, if for lack of a better term. And it creates a complex or an entire society of complacency. And we see this with recent generations with I think the millennials get picked on the most, but it's like they're so complacent with everything. You have the older generations literally telling the younger ones that they suck on a daily basis at everything they do. And the younger generations just kind of shrug it off with like, hey man, but we're having fun, right? And we care about people. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but you're not fucking making any money. Like you're not making a difference. You need to have this mindset to go ahead and do something. And that's where the competitiveness sprouts from. And people it's an edge and it can't be taught. That's the worst part is that I think that no matter how hard you try to instill it in somebody, the ones that are truly competitive about everything and that truly are go-getters to go and grab everything they want in life just have that element in their DNA. But as far as it spans I tend to use school as the example because like that's where everybody gains the degree or the participation trophies. It's gotten to the point where here in the States anyway, if you don't finish your degree in time as you're intended to, you still get like it's not a degree or like a trophy, but it's like a participation certificate. Like, hey, you were supposed to graduate this semester. Better luck next year. And that's when I lost it. That's when I knew it had gotten too far. Because it's like if you can't even compete against yourself, you're not even competing. Most people don't care about being the top of their class, but to compete against yourself, to be the one to go ahead and get that degree, no matter what it is, if you can't even have that as a sanctuary anymore, where do we go from here? And I think it's a dying breed. I think competitiveness is a dying breed, and I still think that the alphas in society are going to be the ones to run it ultimately. But definitely, it's taken a hit, particularly in the arts, as any modern poetry book would dictate.
Yeah, the problem with this is I hate this thing, because an alpha in one field is not an alpha in another. So everybody could be an alpha somewhere, at least. That's that's my, according to their interests, basically. but you have to try. You have to basically face some disappointment here or there and learn from it, I guess. And you know, if you take that away from people, because people are pretty industrious, they would actually want to do something. And when you actually tell them that you are rewarded, with something like universal basic income or something like that for actually doing nothing, and that's coming, by the way. I think it is going to come. It's a big topic. Maybe you should talk about it in your stream with a more qualified guest who wouldn't contradict himself with every sentence. But
Yeah,
it is still well, what did Nietzsche said? I contradict myself every 5 minutes, like 5 times or something. I said something like that, and he is quite accurate. Like, you're a human, like, you're in a good mood here, you're gonna speak a certain way. You're in a bad mood there, you're gonna speak another way, and that's how it goes. Anyways, but they shouldn't get, that's the last structure that they shouldn't touch is actually the competing. And because at the end of the day, you're not going to produce a good painting if the fridge drawing actually makes it. I mean, it just won't happen.
Oh, well, don't even get me started on modern art. Good grief. Oh, I can just throw ketchup on a page.
What actually would you consider like the best art period?
The best art at the moment?
Like no, the best period. Art form? Like, yeah, basically, maybe, the oil and canvas of the Renaissance, for example, or the Gothic period, or maybe you would consider something a modern art, maybe making stuff out of, for example, junk would be considered modern art as well. What do you think? What intrigues you in terms of artsy stuff?
Well,
for lack of a better term.
I'll be honest, I haven't thought about a particular period that I admire more than another. I do like the Renaissance. I do like what is Picasso's style called? It's not a period, but like the Cubism. Like, there was a Cubism phase. I thought that encouraged people to look at shapes differently, at least. If you were to put me on the spot, I think I go with the safe answer, the Renaissance. I think it was a very good for the innovation of the arts. If I've heard this question before, if I think that we're currently in an art period at the moment, and I think yes, but it's probably a pretty pathetic one.
Well, maybe the people at the Renaissance time thought it was a very
yeah, I've heard that one too.
Well. Yeah, so I never know, because actually these paintings actually sell for very too much money these days, and people actually would invest in such things, and they would actually think of it as an investment because their value does increase over time. It's like a Rolex, limited edition. So yeah, I think, but modern art, I haven't seen anything that is actually nice, because I've seen a painting one time. It was a Mona Lisa with a Deadpool face or something like that, and I was watching that and I was disgusted at that point. Yeah, because just imagine the scene and like a background where it's like mountains and everything. So I don't know what the artist was thinking, but I think he was actually thinking too much. And when you're like an artist, you shouldn't be thinking much. You should be, flowing at that point. People just think too much about art these days. They would actually put a mountain because the mountain actually represents nature. And then I'll put a Deadpool, that's modernity. Then I'm going to put the Mona Lisa, which is a symbol of. If you're an artist and you're thinking that, I think that's where you actually, maybe you're a good painter, you know how to strike with a brush, but still no depth to it.
You've missed the point. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like how I critique some of Trillion's work sometimes, that, you're trying too hard with this or you're trying too hard with that sometimes. And he would take it offensively because, of course, you're like at this point deconstructing the guy. But I think it's constructive criticism because if you would think too much about how the poem would rhyme, you'd lose it. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but I think
No, I understand it.
maybe
No, this links
maybe
back
somebody
to,
would put it in a better way.
no, this links back to competition again, which is like people thrive when there's a sort of healthy competition going on minimalist, like the most minimal things, right? So I go somewhere and I learn a new skill, and the first thing anybody always tells me is like, "Wow, you're very good at this," even though it's your first time, and they always seem like very surprised at this. But it's not very surprising to me because if you spend your life learning skills and adopting them and competing and always wanting to improve and produce something that's actually desirable and good, and the end result would be that whenever you try something, well, you have a head start because you've already done your like the amount of competition. So when I used to write poetry back in the day, and I would again try hard to make it rhyme, and then I would pass it by somebody who has more knowledge than me or at least has another opinion. They give me their opinion, I take it bad and I improve. That's good because the next art piece I make, regardless of format, would be better because now my taste has improved or at least has been refined. That's where competition thrives. But if I presented that poem and I got the generic response, it's great. Wow. You know, I would have been satisfied. I would have stopped. Okay, I'm great. Apparently, I'm a genius.
Now you see my problem with J.K. Rowling. It's like it got to her head, right? She became a billionaire, and then she started actually writing more. She thinks she can get away with writing anything now, and it's all dog shit. But she thinks
She had
that
her break.
because, yeah, like I'll give her this. I've read the first 3 Harry Potter books. I could see the appeal, and they were passable for what they were. I still saw a lot of inconsistencies, and I still had problems with them, but it's not a Harry Potter discussion time.
Well, you're not actually getting anybody, Tolkien level at that point. She's okay, but not the depth that a crazy person would have. That's the
Exactly.
thing. You should be yeah, but you need a crazy person to produce such a thing like Tolkien. Or the horror guy, I forgot his name. Wow, what
Stephen King?
miss. Yeah, Stephen King. So yeah, you should have a certain type of a crazy person, like for Nietzsche, for example. A crazy person. You should have somebody who's actually absolutely nuts, like gone, no wits about him. And look at the production.
Yeah,
the movie does not even compare.
And
I remember that one time I wrote, like I was starting to write a novel, right? Like I want to write, so I wrote a chapter and I worked very hard on it. I was very proud of how it turned out, but because of the way my brain works, I'm like, let's compare it to somebody who I admire. So I opened one of George R. R. Martin's books and I read the first chapter. You remember this? I bitched about it, right?
That's
and I read Martin's work, and then I read my work, and all I felt was anger and frustration, and all I wanted was I want that, I want me to do that, and it drove me, and that's important. I still
these days people even do not want to be criticized about something. Like it drives me nuts. Like, you don't want free information, you don't want like something actually free. Like, people give you criticism free. It's actually free. Like, I just imagine, like, you would actually heard things.
It's one of these topics where it's very difficult for people, the way they're raised these days, to accept. And it's the same thing that forces them to like panic and attack people and do a vox apocalypse and all that. And the trust no one, all the topics we've covered, they all stem from an inherent problem in the modern brain, which is, I don't know where it comes from. It's just there, and I know it exists, and I can point to it. Where does it come from, though? How did we get there? Like, what happened? Where did we stray?
Well, on the topic of criticism, I also believe that there's a lot of people who cannot unironically distinguish between the trolls and the actual critiques. We know this because game companies exist, and gamers are always bitching about how the game companies aren't listening to them. But then if you look at a Twitter feed, it kind of, and I keep referencing Twitter, but it really is where all of this lives or dies, depending on your interpretation. And it makes sense. Like, all you have to do is scroll down one feed of Twitter and you get it. You get why these game companies are like, these people are nuts, right? It's like most of them, they're just insulting the developers themselves. Oh, go kill yourself, right? This game's terrible. Oh, dead, right? And then you have the people that are actually, they have concerns and they want to get them to the source that's going to answer them. But it gets lost in the sand, man. Like there's so much shit out there to get lost in. And then naturally there's the problem that we've been discussing over and over, where there's a lot of people that just don't have the stomach for criticism, and that problem speaks for itself. But it's my advice has always been, or my take has always been, find someone whose advice you trust and whose critiques you are going to take to heart, and who's not going to baby you about it. And it might be hard to find someone like that, because a lot of people, even friends, are yes men to them. I would argue at that point, find better friends, right? Find people that are going to find the person that laughs at you when you fall down the stairs and then helps you up, not the person that immediately hurries to help you up. That's a real friend. That's also the same guy that's going to tell you something you wrote or directed or shot is shite. And if it is shite, make sure that he has the balls to tell you that it is, and that he doesn't hold back, because it's only by that method that you're going to learn and that you're going to have the will to improve. And there's a lot of people out there that don't even deserve that, because they can't stomach it. And I mean, truly, you think that person that you read the poetry or that poem from that book, you think if you confronted them head on, do you think that they would be able to take your critiques, even if you were being professional about it?
No.
Why? Because let's be honest, they never even ran it by anyone other than an editor. And maybe even the editor was like, no, we're not. No, we're quality. What's that?
On behalf of our guest, my brother, his phone died. So he's like, what do I do about this? And I'm like, okay.
And now I'm dying.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. So he sends his farewells.
It was great to have him.
Yep.
Very good insight. Voice of reason. Something that I don't get enough of in this stream, because look at who I'm looking. Look, he's on the other side of the screen for me.
What are you talking about? You want lack of reason? Look at the comment section. Look at our feed.
Oh, we should probably do that, huh?
Yeah, like I don't know what to do. Like they called my brother like a Trillian's Nissan. How dare you insult the car company? How dare you?
Whoa, what is this? Malik Sanka, top 10 guests who did not live up to the hype? I would argue he lived up way above the hype. You fucks came in expecting him to talk about forks and make underwear jokes. No, what he gave you was a decent conversation.
No,
Something that's rare these days, especially on YouTube.
no, the poor individual like Malas, he just showed up. He doesn't know what's going on.
Fair
And
enough.
yeah, I do have bladder problems, Stu, that I've always had, and I'm drinking lots of tea. So, well, see, like topics died. Let's wrap this up. Who's the MVC? Come on, let's do this.
All right, let's. Oh God, I'm scrolling fast. Let's see.
I'll give it to Babushka. He's been bitching the entire stream. Dude, he got so into it. He actually messaged me on WhatsApp because he's like, one platform is not enough. So,
well, I guess he's lucky that Toby the Nomad wasn't here. Usually they're duking it out in the comment section. Also, Aziz came in, right? Better late than never. He was here though. Yep. All right, so I guess we will give it to Babushka then.
Congratulations.
What was that? Twice in a row?
No, everybody gets a trophy though. Everybody's MVC.
Everybody That's right. We can't.
Let's be inclusive here.
Yes.
Stoop has mental problems and like you need to give everybody a reward. So everybody gets MVC. That's the fucking announcement today. Everybody's MVC.
Everyone is an MVC. Congratulations. Proof that you can do it no matter if you're black, white, straight, gay, cis. Is cis the same thing as
who cares? Just say it.
Cis, I don't know what it means, but if I heard somebody say it the other day, it sounded like one of those buzz terms. So, transgender, mentally able or unable or ableist or defective or no, that's definitely not it.
So yeah, whatever.
Basically, if you are alive.
Whatever little value you guys get from commenting, we just robbed you of it. Congratulations. You're all awarded.
Yes. But don't worry. Next week, we'll be back. Same week or same day. Fuck me. I can never do this. Same day.
Time, same place.
Yes. To do the same thing to all of you bastards. So be here so that we can hand out more MVCs. And maybe, just maybe, we'll be a little bit more picky next time. Alrighty then. Have a nice night or morning, wherever you are. Please be safe. Chibi out.